hitting the magical record button. Give the hard drive a second to warm up. All right, here we go in 3, 2, 1. Hello, the internet. Matthew here for another great episode of Something Creative. And I have here with me today for you an amazing gentleman, an incredible creative mind, an insanely obnoxious talent. No, you're not obnoxious. Your talent's obnoxious.
Insanely obnoxious. You might have just wanted to stop there.
I gotta say it the right way. Here he is for you all, Danny Carmelo. Danny, thank you so much for being here, my man.
Thank you for having me, Matt. I appreciate it, man. It's been a long time in the making, huh?
I know.
We were supposed to meet sometime in February, and then the world
came to an end.
So. Yeah.
The world put itself on pause, and we didn't. But you know what? It's just as well, because that older series, I don't really think it was going to fit you anyway. This is so much better. This, we get a chance to talk about you, your work, your dreams, your passion for what you do. And I mean it, by the way. You put out some really great music, and you have a great energy, a great aura about you. People now, you guys might have actually seen some of his viral videos, semi-viral, kind of viral. It was beautiful.
Viral-ish.
This is the guy who was singing on his fire escape for his neighbors during the quarantine in New York. A lot of people, a lot of your neighbors heard you and shared it. Those fire escape sessions were beautiful. It really, I think, spoke to what New York has always been seen as, in terms of heart and soul. And it was wonderful. And I got to commend you on that. It was an amazing human thing you did. So here's to you.
I really appreciate that. And I'd love to say, that it was 100% for everybody else. I was absolutely thinking about my neighbors when I did it because, I know how tough it was for everybody at that moment in time. That was when the virus was still very, very, very raging through New York City. And there was a lot of uncertainty, a lot of anxiety. I feel like nobody really knew what was going on or what was going to happen. And people were just stuck in their houses. People were losing their jobs. I had just lost my job at that point. And it was right around my birthday. And it was weird. I really wanted to see my friends and family for my birthday. And, my girlfriend, Sam, did such a great job trying to make it fun and normal. But I don't know, man, I was just in my feelings that day that I decided to go out there. And I was like, I feel like I need to pick me up. And I feel like if I can do something, if I need to pick me up, there are people that have it way worse than me. And I can't imagine how some of these other people are feeling. So, every night at 7, everybody does that cheer out the windows.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, why not add a little music to it? I heard about a week before that, somebody was playing the violin out of their window, and I was on the FaceTime with my dad at the point, and I had to shut off the FaceTime because I actually started tearing up. And I was like, "Hold on, I'll call you right back, Dad." And something about the music just hit me, and I had that in my mind when I went out there. It was just like, I think music is such a powerful thing. It's a very primitive thing. It just speaks to a something inside that you can't really explain,
right.
But so I'm, it was awesome. And I did it, a lot. And every time I came out, people would cheer and they would wave at me. I've connected more with my neighbors during this lockdown than I ever have when the world was open and I could literally go into their apartments and say hello. I'd never met one of them. And now, they would all be cheering for me to come out if I wasn't out on the fire escape already. So it was really cool.
Dude, that is beautiful. That is such, really, human is the word I keep coming back to when I think of that. And so it's just, again, it's something I have to commend you for. But jumping off of that, now you have an album that by the time this video is actually live, your album will have already come out. So I kind of want to talk about that. I want to talk about your music in general. So what's the name of the album?
So the name of the album is When the Lights Went Out.
Okay. Where'd you get that from?
Oh, so many places. So I started really writing this album back in 2017.
Okay.
There was a lot going on in my life. I won't get too heavy into the details, but I had just ended a pretty turbulent relationship. Was dunzo, and it involved cohabitation, so I had to like find a new place to live. I had lost a family member that was very dear to me, and I was also trying to figure out my path as far as what I wanted to do with myself in a lot of ways. My path in life, what kind of man I saw myself as and wanted to be.
Mm.
Part of that involved quitting drinking, which was huge for me. And I have not drank since 2017, so it's been a long time.
Congrats to you,
Um,
man.
and when the lights went out, it kind of symbolizes a lot of things for me. It symbolizes, kind of that moment when things got rough and darkness just kind of took me.
Hmm.
Um, it was it's very weird to be in that headspace when you're, especially, I know this, like, we're
Hmm.
positive people, right? Like, you're a very, very contagiously positive guy,
Thank you.
and I think that's a beautiful quality, man. And I'm a very positive person
Yes,
too,
you
but
are.
when stuff gets real, and darkness kind of takes you for a minute, it can be hard to get out of it.
Yeah.
So there was that kind of a moment with me, and it's also very symbolic of when, what kind of person was I if I drank too much. Like, what was that like when the lights literally went out and I was on autopilot? You know what I mean?
I do.
And was that the man, when the lights went out, was that the man that I wanted to be? Was that the man I wanted to represent me? And this album is just an exploration of all of these things and how to come out of that, and how to come out of it on positive. And it's funny because you'll listen to it and some of the tunes sound super happy and upbeat, but
Yeah.
if you listen to the lyrics, they're like, wait, is this a happy song? I'm not really sure. um but it's really just about exploring all of those things that have happened. And I had no idea that in the midst of recording this, we would go into a pandemic, lockdown, quarantine situation. Racial injustice has always been a heavy thing in this country, and but some of the things that we saw while all this was happening, um, you know, these are all things that, like, I didn't know was going to be on the album until I was on lockdown, just
Yeah.
having to face these things, and I had nothing to do but write about it to make sense of it. You know what I mean?
I do. I know. I'm not a musician, but I'm a writer, and I've done quite a lot of writing and exploration of my own. And what's interesting about this time, if you talk to anybody who's like, more esoteric minded, hippie kind of minded, they just always talk about like Mercury retrogrades and planet retrogrades, and say it's a time for clearing and cleansing and balancing, and that's what this whole year has been. Now, I
Right.
personally think that you know I love change. I love it when things change. Even when it's painful, it's still good because things have to get done. And so I'm going to talk just about a couple of the songs.
Yeah, yeah, please.
One Step, I think, really has that feeling in it that, first of all, your voice is just fucking amazing. I
Thank
mean,
you
just in
very
general,
much,
you have
man.
a great voice, but I heard you the first time I heard it, I'm like, the
Yeah,
fuck is this?
yeah.
It literally sounded, and I know you had that vibe going with some of the elements in the music. When you watch Luke Cage on Netflix, I'm like, this guy would be listening to this song in
Yep,
this show.
yep, yep.
This song would be in that show if it was still running. I swear.
It goes hard, man.
It had that feeling to it. I think, me personally, I feel that kind of almost like ripping and tearing for benefit. If that makes any kind of sense.
And I'm glad you're saying that because it's exactly what I was thinking when there was a lot of passion when I wrote that song, and I was like, this has to come out with the beat, the sound of the vocals, the Will Harbor, who does the rap verse on that song, who did a phenomenal job. The energy has to be right for that song because it's in the spirit of revolution and in the spirit of, as you say, change and having to tear things down
Right.
before you can build them up the way they need to be.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I was imagining, if I could put that vibe into an actual like audio format,
Yeah.
then that's what it sounded like in my head.
I At least to me, I think you succeeded in that. I feel it the
Appreciate
entire
that, man.
time.
I
But then
appreciate that.
thank you. Well, of course, man. Shifting gears though,
Yeah,
the Tinder song, my fucking favorite.
Tinder Song.
I
People
love
been waiting
that.
for the Tinder Song, man. Let me tell you, the Tinder Song is the reason I recorded this album in the first place, which is
Really?
kind of hilarious. I wasn't going to record any of these songs, to be quite honest. I've always done music and I always will.
Mhm,
Um, but recording another album wasn't really something I was focusing on.
mhm.
And I have a younger cousin. Her name is Victoria, and she came to one of my shows once, and she saw the Tinder Song live, and she was with a bunch of her friends. They're younger, you know, they're probably in their like early 20s,
Mhm.
and they were like, "Cool, so where can we listen to the Tinder Song?" And I was like, "Well, you know, I don't know, at these concerts." And they were like, "No, no, you have to record it." And
Yeah.
she stayed on me. She was like, "So when are you recording it? When are you recording? When are you recording it?" And after that, I was like, "Well, I guess I'm putting together an album, so let's do this."
Say, okay, you already answered that question then. But I got to keep that. I have another one I have to keep on the back burner. And then the third song that you kind of teased, kind of, I guess, single in a sense, would be "Staying Home," which
Yeah.
is again a complete divergence. For anyone who hasn't had a chance to listen, you're gonna get the album, and you're gonna listen to it, and you're gonna see these three songs are really vastly different from each other.
Very different. And this is kind of
They
where,
still fit you, if you mind me interrupting and saying they still
please,
fit
please,
you. Feels like you, even
thank you.
so.
It's something I struggle with, man, because I really like a lot of different types of music,
Mhm.
a lot of different genres. And to me, music is about, how are you feeling right now? Like when you are living your day to day, you almost like when you're listening to music, you put on like a soundtrack
Yes.
to what's going on in your life
Oh,
and
yeah.
to what's going on in your day and what your vibe is. It's a very different type of music you're going to put on if you're going out to party, whether you're, like feeling kind of sad because, you're like having a fight with your significant other or like whatever it might be, or if you're falling in love or if you're angry about racial injustice, they're going to sound very different, right? Like but I guess having those different influences, um, it's funny because the music industry really wants you to stay in a
Stamp,
category,
stamp,
right?
stamp.
Which one of these do you fit in? Are you hard rock? Are you a metal guy? Are you a rapper? Are you hip hop? Are you acoustic and adult contemporary, right? And for me, it's like that's the beauty of not being with a label or anything like that is I can do whatever the hell I want,
Yeah.
So if I want to if you think those songs are different, when you hear the rest of this album, you will be shocked at some of the stuff that you hear. There's one song in particular that sticks out to me called "The Wrong One,"
Mhm.
and it it was probably one of the like worst days I've had in a work situation.
Mhm.
I won't go into any detail,
Okay, yeah.
but some things had happened, and I remember just being so mad, right? And I was like, all right, I feel like people are messing with me.
Messing with the wrong one.
I'm messing with the wrong one. And I put it into a song. And listen, the song sounds way angrier than I probably actually was, but that's what I'm saying is like when you get angry, you ever know when you write a letter, that old trick they teach you is like write a letter and throw it in the garbage.
Right, yeah.
This was that for me. And so you'll hear a lot of that diversity when you actually get to hear it on Spotify. It's fun, man. It keeps it different.
And I hope iTunes as well, right?
Oh yeah, it's gonna be on everywhere. Like
Yeah, it's
Apple
gonna
Music,
be on everywhere.
iTunes, Amazon,
Yeah.
literally anywhere you can access your music, it's gonna be there.
Yeah,
YouTube.
I mixed up the date in my head because what was it? I think it was like Monday or whatever it was. It was the 5th, and I'm like, why does the 4th stick out in my head? Oh shit, Danny's album! And I wrote over to iTunes, and I'm like, wait, it's not on iTunes. I go back to your Instagram, I'm like 14th, dumbass. Okay,
Uh, dude, I don't blame you, man. I was supposed to come out with this album like so many different dates, and this is just how it goes. Sometimes you gotta tweak.
well, and now this is what I want to come back to. So, like I said, I'm a writer. I write I've been writing my blogs on the website because I've been doing it as a kind of therapy in and of itself, you know, expressing, talking about my journey because I don't have a shame gland. I'm
Right.
completely out there. And I know because other people said it to me. It's like, oh, I'm so glad you said that because, you know, I want to send this to my cousin who's having a hard time, or,
Right.
you know, my dad was an alcoholic. So now I understand a little more. Like, I get that once in a while. And so I express it for myself. Like you said, you went out on the fire escape for yourself and then end up serving other people. So that's kind of why I do it. But, you know, there's been a lot that I didn't end up saying. And then I try to get a little more technical and then I kind of hammer it down too much. And then it's hard to come out. It's like you're wrestling with something.
Yeah.
And you said you didn't necessarily feel like you were going to put an album out. You were just putting these songs out. So I'm kind of leaving it as an open question. Like, what end of the process was it for you? Do you feel like this album made itself come out? Were you fighting with a muse? Were you fighting with yourself? Like, why was that decision even in your head not to put an album out in the first place?
You know, it's a weird thing to, and again, I know this is something that you know because you are very candid with the stuff that you come out with, and sometimes, you know, it's like the ultimate state of vulnerability
Yeah.
that you can leave yourself in by, you know, saying, hey, these are all of my feelings and all of the things that have happened to me over the past couple years, and I'm going to put them right in front of you
Hmm.
with no filter, no nothing, like no minced words. This is me at my like most bare form.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes there was some subject matter I just felt like in this album that I was like, you know, I don't really know if that's for sharing or if that's more just for me therapeutically.
I get it.
And so it never was to me like, oh, I need to put this out because you know, I'm past the phase of like, oh, I'm gonna be a famous rock star, I'm gonna do all these things and make all this money and whatever. For me, music is strictly, it's a form of therapy for me. It's a form of connecting with other humans. My favorite thing in the world is when another person hears a song that resonates with them and sends me a message and says like, oh my god, that touched me on this level. I went through XYZ and your song helped me get through it. And that's happened to me a few times where you know, I kept that in the back of my mind and I'm thinking, you know, if at any time any material I was going to have that resonance with anybody,
Mhm.
it's going to be this material. And so I just felt like at a point, you know, the Tinder song was the catalyst because it's got that like poppy catchy element that like people want to hear that stuff and it's very funny.
Mhm.
Um but when I realized at that point that like, oh, people want to hear what I have to say in general, um okay, maybe it's worth doing because for me, I felt like, you know, it's very hard to, especially in the music industry, this like independent music, there's so much stuff out there. There's so
Yeah.
much stuff. And when you put this stuff out there, like what ultimately happens is you become very proud of it. They become your babies. And then
Right.
you get, you know, they don't get a lot of traction. They just don't. If you don't have the big marketing machine behind them, it's hard to get people to listen.
Right.
It's hard to, you know, sometimes you won't, the feedback you get won't always be positive, and it's hard to like put your babies out there and have them be called ugly or have, you know,
Yeah.
so there's all these things in my head like, do I even want to put myself through this? Screw it, I got a nice career, I don't need this right now. But you know, I'm glad I had a lot of people close to me who pushed me to do it because I'm very proud of this, and I think I personally feel like it's the best project I've put together ever.
That is beautiful, man. It really is, and that's you're a little bit vulnerable with us right now, and I really appreciate that, and I think everybody else does too. And see, you know, I was just thinking, it's like it's different for like writers, like story writers or blog writers, and musicians in the
Yeah.
sense like words are the only place we connect because music, like you said, has to come with more emotion, more viscerality. I get to use fancy language. I can create an image with like a whole, I can use pages and pages and pages to create an image.
Right.
Musicians get to create imagery out of people's unconscious minds
Right.
in just a few words and like a single bar.
Right.
And I've always admired writers for that. I've tried writing music and poetry, and it doesn't really go so well. That's kind of where my left brain tends to take over,
Right. Right.
and I'm like, it.
But hey, what
So,
you do it very well. So
well, thank you. I appreciate that, but I give you credit for that. Do you? Okay, so you do it for yourself. You don't really think of others in that sense. Like you're not doing it for the
right.
fame and the glory and everything else. And it's interesting as far as for myself, and I know for a lot of other creative people in general, criticism is one thing. Silence sometimes is worse.
It's tough. It's tough. Well, because what ultimately is always going to happen is like you'll start off reluctantly, then you'll get very excited, and
Mhm.
then you'll put it out, and then if nothing happens, you're just in that cycle of like, well, why did I even do this again? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's the thing is, it's not like, listen, man, I've been recording this album since March, since the beginning of March,
Mhm.
and we are now what, September? I mean, it's been a long process, and the writing of the songs was even longer, and I just like it's a lot of work, as if you said, as you say, to like have just a deafening silence, like when you finally get it out there, and like, what's the reaction going to be?
Right.
Um, but I got to a point where I was like, you know what? I don't really care. Uh, I
Mhm.
hope people listen to it. I hope people like it. I hope there's something that people hear in there that is like that connects with them and helps them in some way, or just makes them feel good. Um, but if not, I feel like this whole process has been amazing, and I'm just really proud of the work, you know?
All right. Now, normally something I do when I talk with creatives on that, I loved all that, by the way. Normally what I do is I go rewind what got you started and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if that's as important as what you're doing right now, because the whole journey that brought you here, I think has really come out in the last 20 minutes or so, because there's an evolution in the story you're talking about. And it's really real, and I really appreciate that. But I would love to have you back on and actually talk about your origin story. Uh,
Yeah.
as as fellow nerd, I know you appreciate comics and fantasy and all that
I
stuff.
like
So
that
let's.
too.
I want to have you back on to talk about your origin story. But more importantly, I want everybody, no, need, demand, order everyone to go get When the Lights Go Out. It's available on iTunes, Spotify, and all that good stuff.
Yep, yep. And just
Last
search
thing.
Danny Carmelo and you'll find it.
Yeah,
It's easy.
that's easy. Oh, and make sure, of course, you're following him on the Instagram. That's of course rolling down here on the bottom.
All of the things.
Last thing, last thing I absolutely have to ask you before you go. What advice would you give to anyone who is maybe starting out in music, maybe is sitting on a pile of songs or sitting on a pile of work that they don't know what to do with, don't know how to put it out, if they should put it out? What would you tell that person?
One, don't make it for anybody else.
Mhm.
Make the work that you want to make.
Okay, good.
Um,
That's good.
say the things you want to say, write the songs you don't like, try and fit into anything that you're not. It feels inauthentic, and that inauthenticity will come through, and that's not the point of music. Um, two, uh, don't be cursed by paralysis by overanalysis.
Yeah.
Don't think about it too much. Just do it. If you think about it too much and you plan too much, you'll never put the music out and never see the light of day. Just get to work and get it recorded. However, there's a million ways to record things these days
Yeah.
with high quality. Everybody's got mini computers in their pockets running around. You can figure it out if you don't have access to a studio. Just get the demos done.
Right.
And other than that, you just Google how to release your music on Spotify. It's that easy. There's a company called CD Baby that I use that it costs, nearly maybe like $50 to get your album out there one time, distributed to every single distributor there is, and you can be on Spotify. So Apple Music, Amazon, all that stuff. So get started. And honestly, if you have questions about how to do it, feel free to DM me anytime.
All right. You heard it here, folks. Bother Danny. So,
Follow me.
my man, I really, really appreciate you having you on today. I look forward to talking with you again. And again, everybody, get the album. That's an order. From Matt and Danny, this has been another amazing episode of Something, Something, Something Creative. Catch you on the next one. Take care.
Thanks for having me, bro.
You're welcome, man. Good to see you.